When you are playing your music to your grandma for the first time and you want her to dance like this, then I recommend you watching the video in full. Tip number 1 is choosing the right sample. Choosing the right sample is everything in music production, and it can make your life so much easier. You don't want to make shit sound better shit. You want to make good sound amazing. Let me just give you an example. These are 2 different kick samples I found on Splice. Both of them are like some kind of a techno sample. And like already you can see the difference, how they look, and let's see how they sound. This is the kick nut one, and this is kick 2. Yeah, and there is 0 audio processing or anything, so note that this is just a sample. I just threw it on Splice. Tip number 2 is using a reference track that you know that works, and also that this is really important, is that the reference track is in the right key as the track you are making. And this is something I really struggled with when I started, because I just didn't know, and I was always so confused, like why is my track so much worse or not the same as the reference track, even though I did everything pretty much the same, or I tried to, but the key was just different, so the bass just didn't hit you the same. And let me give you an example. There are 2 reference tracks in here. One is G minor and one is F. And the biggest difference, well, I'll let you hear it first and then I will explain it. So this is my track Feeling, was released a couple of weeks ago. And this is a track I'm working on in the key F. The biggest difference is just, of course, the sound and vibe is different, but the bass, how you hear it, how you feel it, and I would just recommend you trying it out. I think the best frequencies for the best bass are E, F, F minor, G, and G minor. So keep that in mind when you are making some banging techno. Tip number 3, saturation and EQ are your biggest friends. Really, if you choose the right sample, you don't really need that much to begin with. Just a little bit saturation, and if you want to sculpture the sound with EQ, I really don't use use EQ that much on the kicks unless I layer them, but or I just want to boost some specific frequencies, but it's not that necessary really, in my opinion. So here's a kick without the effects. And here are the kick with effects. It just gives that oomph, that grittiness that you need in the kicks, so it can shine through the mix. Alright, so tip number 4. And this is more towards the more experienced producer. For a beginner, I really wouldn't start worrying about kick layering. It's a bit more advanced. But if you really want to get that 100% like the pros, most of the pros layer their kicks, and most of them do it like this. Usually they have from 2 to 4 to 5 different kicks, what I've heard, but I really wouldn't recommend going over 3. It's just excessive in my opinion. It doesn't really make that big of a difference. Just use the right samples and that's more enough. Usually I have 2, maximum 3. In this one I have 3. And one kick is for the bottom end. It's the same sample we used before. One is for the click. The bottom end is here. The click. And then is also a little bit kick and more mid-range. And yeah, I would actually maybe saturate this a bit more. And then together. Alright, tip number 5 is mixing the kick correctly. I hear it in so many tracks where the kick is not loud enough, it's not coming through the mix, elements are not sidechained well enough, especially in the low frequencies. If something is fighting with the kick, it's just gonna sound terrible. So really keep that in mind. Especially in the low frequencies, anything shouldn't be fighting there. In the top frequencies, it really comes to taste. I would recommend, like, if you have like really hard main lead, maybe try a little bit of side chaining and see how it sounds a little bit more. And it really comes to taste and how you want to get the kick through. But in this example, I have a project where the kick is 5 dB too low. And it's not that big of a difference, but I really want to hear and feel how it actually sounds 5 dB lower and where it actually needs to be. So here is minus 5 dB version. Alright, and now I will Control Z to put it back to where it's supposed to be, 5 dB higher. Let's hear it now. Sounds so much better, and especially the music we are making, electronic dance music, the kick is the heartbeat of the music. So without the kick, it's gonna suck. So the kick is the most important part of almost every track, I would even say. Alright, this concludes my first YouTube tutorial on how to make proper techno kicks or kicks, and I hope you learned something valuable. Just note to keep things simple, use the right samples, mix it well, and use the right reference tracks. And I think you're already there where you want to be. Thank you for watching, and I wish you all the good karma. Cheers.